Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Automation Nation inside Barnum, podcast that is everything and anything H Barnum and our suppliers and what happens here and everything we sell and promote and do for everyone. And today we're going to be talking Murrplastik. Murrplastik does everything from cable entry systems, energy chain, you name it. If it needs to be organized, Murrplastik's got it handled. And today we got Senta from Murrplastik with us, calling in remotely to give us a rundown on basically all of that. She's our channel manager. She's our expert. And Senta, if you don't mind, give us a quick little intro about you, what you do, how long you've been doing this, kind of what you do for us here at Barnum.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me, Cody. I'm Senta. I've been with Murrplastik for almost 10 years. It's been a while. And I've been in a channel manager role for about 2 years. So what does that mean? I'm responsible for our distribution strategy in North America, and then also responsible for our key distributors. So, for example, Barnum. And yeah, um, I don't know if I forgot to respond to any of the things that you just said.
Obviously that's your realm. You handle Barnum. Um, were you mainly located at?
So actually, I travel full time. We live in our camper.
That's awesome.
So I work remotely most of the time. Right now, we are in the Nevada desert because it's getting cold, so we have to go somewhere where it's warm. And then, like if I have to like travel somewhere, I try to be close to an airport.
That's pretty cool. So yeah, you really got a nice universal opportunity with your living style for that. I like it.
Yeah, it's working out well, and it's a fun way to live life.
So kind of diving into your day to day with Murrplastik, I guess lately, what you spend most of your time on with Murrplastik? I mean, is it just demos? Is it a certain product that you guys are pushing heavily right now, or is it just as stuff comes in, whoever calls you, that's what we got to work on today?
Yeah, so most of the time day to day is like looking at distributor performance and that type of stuff. So that's a little bit, like more boring. Like the hands-on stuff is a lot of times handled by, like our area regional sales managers. But what we're currently talking a lot about is actually energy chains. So we currently have a push for energy chains because there is a big energy chain manufacturer out there that is currently having some struggles with delivery, and they're going through an ERP system change. So obviously, we're getting a lot of requests for that and are talking a lot about that with our customers and distributors.
Yeah, so obviously with that, if people already don't know who Murrplastik is, now seems to be a really good opportunity to showcase not just that there's product that can replace what you've used before, but actually why Murrplastik energy chain is the better option and probably should have been their option from the start.
Yeah, so when we talk about our energy chains, what we try to do is we try to think about the people that are installing and maintaining it in the end,
Hmm.
making it easy to like, open our crossbars, replacing any cables, that might have like worn out after a long time, or if there is, like a component that has worn down or broken for whatever reason, easy to replace, like just a component inside a chain rather than replacing the entire chain.
Sure.
And that is basically, like the idea behind our newest energy chain series, the Evo line chain, where basically, like you can like open the crossbars even inside a guide channel, or you can remove individual links very easily without, like trying to like lift out the entire chain, removing all the cables, like unwiring everything and like redoing the whole thing basically from scratch.
And I can imagine when an electrician gets one of these set up, they take a lot of pride in their organization on it and making it look good. And if they do have to replace something on it and it's cumbersome, that is a nightmare for them. So your chain being easily serviceable is probably a very big point to a lot of people, especially the end user.
Yeah, and it's not just, like the electrician that, like obviously will be annoyed at that point in time, but it's also downtime. It's real money for the end user. If your chain or your machine is down
Yep.
and you have to replace the whole thing, sometimes it can take, like days, depending on, like how complicated
Yep.
the setup is.
Well, kind of to back up even a little further, give me a quick, just a 1,000-foot view of what are all of the different, I guess, not industries, but different products that Murrplastik
Mhm.
really covers in their portfolio. Because obviously, energy chains are a big push right now. We're gonna deep dive into that. But for people who really don't know Murrplastik that well, maybe energy chains is their first foot in the door with Murrplastik. What else? What else is all under Murrplastik?
So yeah, we make any type of like cable protection and cable management. So basically all the things that people don't think about until they need it. We have 5 different product lines. So one being the energy chains that we've already touched upon.
Mm-hmm.
Then you mentioned earlier cable entry systems. So that is basically whenever you route cables inside an enclosure, it's an alternative to cable glands, easier to install, higher packing density, and with the trend of enclosures getting smaller and smaller, like that space is a real problem for people. So that is solving that problem right there. Then we have a line of labeling systems. So that means like printer systems either with inkjet or laser technology that prints on labels for terminal blocks, I/O blocks, Ethernet blocks, and then also wire labels. And we specialize basically, what I always tell people is we are manufacturer agnostic. So whether, like a panel shop will like service a lot of different customers, and different customers have different preferences. Obviously, for your guys' sake, I always hope that they choose, like White Mueller. But sometimes they might choose Phoenix terminal blocks or Allen Bradley terminal blocks, and the panel shop has to be set up to like, print on all of these labels and like service all of these, like or like install labels on all of these terminal blocks. And our solution is basically one printer, one software, one source where you can get the labels for all of these different manufacturers.
Sure.
And then fourth product line would be cable protection conduit. So whether it is just for bundling cables or if you actually need to protect your cables from, like any chemical substances, temperature resistance, or that type of stuff, we make corrugated conduit that kind of fits that application. We are the conduit extruder, so we're not just, like buying the conduit, and there's actually not that many conduit extruders out there. So we have a lot of ownership of the different recipes
Okay.
um, for the different conduits. And then that product line actually resulted in our fifth product line, which is currently our largest growing product line. Those are robotic dress packs. So we basically started out with like making conduit that holds up really, really well in these like highly dynamic applications that you see in robotics. So you have like you kind of need like this, like unicorn conduit in those applications. You want something that is highly flexible, that like can like bend tightly, but that is also crush resistant because when like your conduit smacks against a robot arm, you don't want your conduit to like dent in right away and like fall apart and break.
Yep.
And so we have a conduit that basically has a unique geometry, and we use a certain recipe that makes it highly flexible but still has a good crush resistance. And then building upon that, we basically started having, like all the components that you need for a dress pack. So whether that being mount plates to mount it to, like the robot at J3 or J6, having retraction systems, having, like ball joint accessories and all that stuff.
So yeah, the portfolio overall is big, but it all at the end of the day encompasses really one main theme is protecting and organizing cable systems. And I mean that can go everywhere from cables to airlines to you name it, but I mean
Mhm.
it
Yeah,
overall all blankets under the same goal, which is
yeah,
nice
yeah.
because it opens a conversation for more than just your energy chain or more than just uh, cable entry, some grommets. So that I would assume you're always there's always something new being, innovative coming in that realm, because it's just, as that happens, someone's going to say, I need it to be able to do this. I wish this was a easier option. And since you guys are the true manufacturer of a lot of this stuff, well, I guess all of it really, you're not really privately labeling anybody's stuff. You'll be able to just get the engineers on board, find a new thing for it, and that's another thing to add to the portfolio. And eventually every single thing you ever would need for your cables comes from Murrplastik.
That's how it sometimes feels looking at our catalog. It's a very like wide breadth of components and parts, but yes, you captured it correctly. Like it is all under that umbrella of organizing and protecting like cables or airlines or like hydraulics or whatsoever.
Yep. You touched on a lot of the good points with the dress pack stuff about the reason why people would need that in the different conduits and abrasion resistance or harsh chemicals. So I mean, I wouldn't really need to go into depth in that too much because covered that real well. But I want to go back to our energy chain. That is the big topic of, the month for us, and a big push for you guys as well. So with the energy chain, you said there's a new version. I have one here on the table for people who are watching this on YouTube to be able to see as well. And this obviously seems like a pretty large one. I'd assume there's a lot of different sizes of these depending on the application. What really makes these, I guess, unique? Why is Murrplastik's energy chain unique, better, higher performance, any of that? Just give me your sales pitch on why this is that all-star energy chain.
Mhm. Yeah, so like the chain that you have on your table is our Evo chain series. So those are our heavy duty chains. And that was actually developed in very close cooperation with a large end user, Mercedes. And it was like a lot of their input was actually like, taken into consideration when developing it. So just like from a very practical perspective, like as I mentioned earlier, it's very easy to open the crossbars to like remove individual links if you have to replace, like something like that. You can do it while the chain is still installed. But looking at some more fancy little features is, so I have here a link, basically like half of a link here so you can see it. So this little gray membrane right here, that is actually a sound dampener.
Okay.
So it makes it a lot more quiet in usage.
That was
So
something I was going to ask. It seems like when these are being used, it's because stuff is moving.
mhm.
And this heavy plastic, I mean, I would imagine makes a lot of noise if it's dragging along. And I've seen it advertised that the Murrplastik ones are a quieter solution. It's like, how do you make something like this quieter?
Yeah, so it is like the dampener that's right in here helps. And then we have an additional thing. So it's obviously always relative, like if you're in a stamping plant, you don't care about the
Oh,
noise of a
absolutely.
chain.
Yeah.
But if you are in an environment where, like you want like quiet manufacturing and, like also sometimes there's legal requirements regarding, like how loud your environment can be.
Yep.
You already have the dampener in there that comes, like just with any chain, but we also have like this little clip, and I don't know how well you can see that, but there's like another like little rubber like spot right
Sure.
here.
Little bumper right on it,
That
basically.
yeah, bumper is a good word, yes. And that just like clips here on the side link. So when like your chain actually, so most of those heavy duty chains actually like go on top of each other, and then like the hard plastic, if it like rubs against each other, obviously creates noise.
Oh,
And if you
so
have
you can
that,
just install those in certain areas where you know there's going to be contact instead of putting them on the
yes,
entire chain.
yes, and that basically reduces your noise quite a bit as well.
Sure.
Um, and then the other thing that this energy chain series has is, so we also have these glide shoes here. So again, like when a chain runs onto itself, you will create abrasion and the plastic will rub onto each other. And over time, you will see wear on it. And that is usually, like when you're talking about like very long applications. So the fun thing with this one here is you can see that there's a yellow dot right here. and that yellow dot will also come out on the other side as you are wearing it down.
Okay,
So
so
it's
you actually have an
basically,
indicator.
yes, yeah, you have an indicator for when to replace those. And, while you can just, like have them on a like preventative maintenance schedule and you can replace all the glide shoes of your chain like at once, if you use the ones with the indicator, you can actually just replace the ones that you need replacing. Because like your glide shoes will not wear down like all at once, like the same way all at once.
Yeah,
Like if you have a 200-meter long chain,
there's
you
certain
have,
areas that definitely will be rubbing more than others. Yeah.
correct. And so like you can save some time if, like you have someone like checking in on it and they see like the yellow shining through, like, okay, great, replacing this one and it's done. And then obviously, like the big advantage of using glide shoes to begin with is that you only replace the glide shoes, which are like a fairly cheap component, rather than, like having to replace your entire like side link over time.
Yeah, I mean, in looking at like this heavy duty series, I mean, you're not joking. This is heavy duty, so I would assume. I mean, it's a premium product. This is not some cheapo item you expect to just wear and be replaceable all the time. You're gonna buy this and you're gonna have it for a while. So, being able to protect it with those little shoes is a really neat little add-on feature for very minimal cost.
Yeah, and that's the idea behind it. Like, like we are a German company. We obviously love our, like German quality. And that's also why, like with any of our products, yeah, there are a lot of times like wear products, but we are trying to make them in a way that, like the components that can wear down are easily replaceable.
Sure. Um, with the energy chain, obviously there's a bunch of different series, sizes, every little thing about them. Murrplastik advertises the chain builder software that someone who either knows what they need can easily use that software to just kind of select components, or I would assume someone who doesn't know what they need can play around with that and build something and get a better idea of how it's actually going to function and what components are necessary before they just reach out and give up and move on to someone else's. You don't need to share the software or anything on your screen if you don't want to or whatnot, but can you give me a quick little rundown on how that
Mhm.
software works? Or is it something that you usually work with the customer with and you kind of use it together? How
Mhm.
does that chain builder software actually function?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to correct a little bit of what you said. So, like, someone who doesn't know what they're doing
Hmm.
probably will not have the easiest time with Chain Builder
Sure.
because there is some information required where you kind of need to know more about your application. But for someone who like, is a little bit unfamiliar with chains, and like has like more of a lighter duty application, we do have, like a like quick selection guide that helps, like basically select the correct chain just based on
Hmm.
like basic parameters. If it then comes to like a more, like advanced chain, like higher duty application, longer, more cables, heavier, higher speed, and they are not quite comfortable with it, that's where we have our wonderful partners like you guys to like assist a little bit with that. But for people that are like familiar with like um like their application and they are able to like put in like enough details, chain builder is a great option. So basically what it does is it walks you through the different parameters a chain application needs. So that would be like your travel distance, um how it is like kind of used, if it's like a self-supporting application, is it horizontal, is it vertical?
Yep.
Then you can put in like your cable list, and you can actually like put the cables exactly inside the chain and size it like that. You can like select the accessories, and then it gives you a like project number or a chain assembly number, and also bill of material. So if you order by that project or like chain assembly number, the MK number, you get your chain completely assembled from us.
Okay.
Or if you prefer to like just have your BOM and like order the individual components and you want to assemble it yourself, you can also do it that way. And then a nice thing is that the chain builder also generates a 3D model automatically. So you can download that right then and there. Don't have to go, like through the process of reconfiguring it or something like that.
Yep.
And if you sign up for an account, then you can actually save your projects and go back to them.
Okay. So there's a lot to that. I was going to ask if it did models, because that's always a question, because these things are not the easiest to model if you're just downloading a single link and you need to kind of configure it on yourself back and forth. The fact that you build something, you can get the model for it is exactly what nine out of 10 engineers are going to want right away.
Yeah. And the nice thing is also like you can actually adjust the slider on the model and you can decide like where in your travel the model is. So do you want, like the chain to be shown or the model to be shown in the beginning of your travel distance or in
Yep.
the middle or at the end of your travel distance? So a lot of times, like when you're designing it, people will, download 2 or 3 models just so they can show the chain in its like, movement basically.
That's yeah, that's pretty slick. I like that. I mean, the easier we can make it for someone to get exactly the answers they want, the more they're probably just going to use the product in general. A lot of people like
Yeah.
that they can save themselves some time.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
Now with that as well, is there ever is there ever a way a customer can get in there and configure something that just is wrong, that just does not work? Like, does it error out for you and say that these components aren't going to work this way, or is it something that if you build it and you want it that way, good luck? Or
So
yeah, is there common
so
mistakes
there
people
are
make with that?
so there are certain things that are just not configurable.
Hmm.
So for example, if you're saying like, um, I want a self-supporting application. So self-supporting means that the chain holds itself up along the entire travel distance, but your travel distance is, like 30 meters. Chain builder is going to tell you, well, tough crap, but we don't have a chain that is rated for that.
Yeah,
Your maximum distance for a self-supporting chain is, I think, 9 meters or something like that. At this travel distance, you have to go with a gliding application. So the chain is going to glide onto itself over
sure.
that time. So there are certain fail safes in there. But there's also, for example, like certain things that you're putting in there. If you're putting, like your radius in there and you're specifying your radius incorrectly,
Yeah,
chain builder wouldn't know that just based on the cables that you are listing.
yeah,
So like that would be a possibility where someone, like could use it and use a radius that is just too tight for the cables that they are using. The other thing that is kind of a I wouldn't say it's a common mistake, but I have seen it, and we have no control over that. If a customer uses not flex-rated cables inside a energy chain.
yeah,
And that's where you guys come in, like you guys have, like wonderful cable manufacturers that you have on your line card. So a customer can, like kind of lean onto you and be like, okay, which one is the high flex rated energy chain rated cable from this manufacturer?
sure. Yep. And all that seems to go hand in hand. And if anyone questions it or doesn't know how to do it, like you said, we got our product managers here who are well versed in this. Obviously, there's support through Murrplastik on the website, you know, and the questions can be answered before someone configures something that's just inappropriate for their application. So it's nice
Yeah,
to know that the fail safes are there as well. That things that would be advertised in the like data sheets for the product actually do come into effect in the software as well. It's not going to
yeah.
allow you to build something that's not buildable.
Yes, yeah. So like you can, like build a chain that is like outside of our specified, like distances or weight limits or stuff like that.
Yep, very cool. Anything else that you want to toss in on the energy chain side before I pivot real quick? I mean, energy chain you could probably talk about it for hours, but is there any other big highlights?
So we have a kind of new feature coming up for our Evo line chain. So like next year, all of our locking tabs here, so those are the tabs right here,
Yep.
they will come as a tool toolless version, basically. So you can
Okay.
still use it with your, I don't know how well you can see this. You can still use it with your screwdriver to open it up, and then you have the locking tab here.
Yep.
But all of these also can just be opened with their thumb. And like, I don't know how well this is going to come out with the angle that I'm at, but basically you can take it apart very easily just by using your thumbs in case, like you're going somewhere and you happen to leave your screwdriver behind
Yep.
on your desk. I wouldn't recommend doing the tool free version for a 200-meter chain because your thumbs at some point are going to feel it. But like for those situations where you have to make a quick swap and you happen to forget this guy, you can still do it and you don't have to, like go back and grab a screwdriver.
So is that something that'll be its own variation, or is that just going to be the new standard? It comes tool
Yeah,
and tool-free option, just part of it.
correct. So like basically the part numbers are going to stay the same.
Yep.
And we will just be like update. It's basically just like a product variation update.
Yep.
They are also not different, like in their dimensions or whatsoever. It's just a little bit of a different design where you can basically push it in and like pull it
Sure.
out, versus with the not tool-free version, you just needed it with a screwdriver.
And that those tabs seem pretty recessed beyond the edge of the chain, so there shouldn't be any issues where someone says, "Well, maybe it'll fall on something and pop itself open."
It,
I would expect that was tested quite a bit. There's no
yeah, I mean,
concerns
like
there.
it would. You have to like, you have to push it in and then slide it, like push and then slide out.
Okay,
So it's not that you're like just,
not
like
just a
able
push
to like
release, just pop it
no,
and
no,
go.
no, no. It's I mean, like that's also why I said I wouldn't recommend doing it on a 200-meter chain because, like you can't make it too easy to remove.
Yep.
But yeah, making it a little bit easier just in those like few situations where you happen to not have a screwdriver with you.
Yeah. Very cool. Anything else on the energy chain side that's worthwhile?
Other than that, I mean, like we're coming out with new sizes like fairly regularly. We
Mm-hmm.
have, like a broad portfolio. You mentioned it kind of earlier, from, like 10 millimeter inner height to like all the way up to like 102 millimeter inner height. Um, so we're constantly, like evolving there, but like I think we covered most of the features.
Cool. Good deal. Well, then I think real quick here, just a quick little um, glance over on some of the other stuff that Murrplastik really touches on. Um, I've seen a lot of discussion about cable entry for like pre-terminated cables or molded cables.
Hmm.
And obviously, you want like a cord grip around your cable. It's going to be a lot smaller than the end that's already on it. And I've seen Murrplastik advertise that quite a bit. Do you want to just give me a
Yeah.
quick little 2-minute rundown on that as well? It's kind of a cool feature. That's something that you guys do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, so the nice thing about cable entry plates is that they have a smaller footprint in comparison to cable glands. But the other big advantage that I haven't really touched on that you just brought up is we do have completely splittable versions of our cable entry frames. So meaning the frame is splittable, all the grommets are splittable, and you can actually use your pre-molded cord sets without removing a connector, and just like getting that through. You can even use it with large connectors just because like the cutout goes all the way up to like a 24 pin, like heavy duty industrial connector.
Sure.
And in addition to that, what we are releasing later, like, well, in the new year, is actually grommets that will also hold onto pre-molded M8 and M12 connectors. So that would be then like a um, replacement for your field wirables. So
Sure.
basically, they are holding, like the M12 connector on one side, and then that's on the outside of the panel, and then you're coming in from the inside of the panel, and connecting it to another, like
So it's
M12
basically creating
connection.
a receptacle almost,
Yeah.
but it's a
Yes.
cord grip, but it's, yes, that's actually pretty neat. So instead of installing a receptacle, cutting a hole and having to bolt something on and figure out which way you need it, you could just grip right onto an existing molded cord set and use it basically
Hmm.
the same way.
Yeah. Yeah, because like we all see it, like the trend goes to using, like pre-molded cord sets. They're so convenient.
Yep.
And like the next step in that convenience is you do want those quick connects if you can. So have those quick connects, on the outside of the panel rather than having them on the inside.
Yeah, that is really that's a neat one. That'll be cool to see when that gets released.
Yep, yeah, I'm excited.
Um, I guess I'm kind of get closing here on our discussion. We talked about a lot energy chains. We touched on a little bit of the dress pack stuff. Is there anything else that you really want to highlight for me while I got you?
Hmm.
Anything recent that really sticks out too that I don't know was a win or even just a product that we just definitely want to touch on while I got you?
Yeah, so one new product that we are releasing at the end of this year in our cable entry section is actually an explosion-proof cable entry.
Okay.
It is IEC X-rated Zone 1 and Zone 2 1. So that is for your applications in, like automotive paint or in like oil and gas and that type of stuff.
Hmm.
And that is a market currently that a lot of times you have very few options. Um, and the options are usually cord grips. So now we are coming out with that explosion-proof cable entry. Currently, it is not available as a completely splittable version, but it is planned to come out with a completely splittable version so we can capture, like what we talked about, that people don't have to field wire, that they, can use their pre-molded or pre-connectorized cables, also in those really demanding applications.
Yeah, for sure. That's pretty slick. Yeah, we I know we get that type of request all the time for explosion proof stuff, and the list of components that fit under that blanket is pretty small, and that that request has a lot of potential because there's a lot of industries in that. So it's
Hmm.
nice to see that there's some more stuff coming out for that.
Yeah, always happy to help you guys when we can.
Anything else we could think of?
um, I mean, I think I covered a lot of the products. I think one thing that, like might be worth highlighting is that we really value our, like distribution partners like H Barnum. And we really appreciate, like you guys that are like, out in the field, you get the information for the applications, you offer the customers, like full solutions. Because Murrplastik's product line, like while all of our components and all of our products are very important, they're very like, down the list in like sense of importancy. I mean, like you're first looking at your robot, then you're looking at your PLC and you're looking at
Yep.
all those things, and you guys are able to like capture that so well for your customers that you can like offer that complete package, so you have like all of those components that go with like the most important things in your customer builds.
Yeah, I know our sales team is really good at making sure the customer gets the whole solution instead of afterthoughts or just bits and pieces. And obviously, that's what majority of Murplastic is a lot of the afterthoughts and bits and pieces. So the
Yeah.
fact that our guys like to roll that in and make sure it's a priority and not forgotten about is I guess pretty darn helpful, I would think.
Yeah, it's super helpful. I mean, like for a customer that, as I said earlier, like most of our products are products they don't think about until they need it. Versus, like if they work with you as HH Burnham with the HH Burnham salesperson, like your HH Burnham salesperson will make sure that you are also thinking about these things a little bit in advance.
Hmm. Well, if anybody wants to learn more on this stuff, obviously Murplastic's website is pretty well chock full of information. They got the chain builder on there, brochures on everything. Obviously distributor lists and where to get support and who to buy this product from. Um, and then if there's anyone that ever needs help picking something out, HH Barnum has our product managers that are well versed in this, our tech support that's well versed in this, and then they can always reach out to Murrplastik themselves, probably get a hold of you once it gets into a pretty advanced application, and really make sure they're getting what they need and the quantities that they need and the sizes and all of that, and make sure you're not using the old technology versions of things. Make sure they're keeping up to date on the nice new stuff that's coming out. But
Yep,
other than that,
absolutely.
I mean, covered quite a bit on this, and I really appreciate you coming on, making the time for us to discuss this, because I know it's a big push with us right now, like you said, with another competitor that is struggling to provide some of these products, and really want to show off the Murrplastik option and why it's not just a fill in the gap, or you need something now. It's actually a product that's worthwhile for you using for the future, not just
Hmm.
as a gap filler. So
Yeah, that's definitely a hope. And also a big argument for that is obviously that, like customers can work with you guys instead of the competitor.
and with us, with the distribution, I mean, Barnum likes
Yeah.
to stock stuff. That's a big thing we talk about all the time too. So, if it's a long lead time item from Murrplastik, we can get that stuff on order way in advance, stock things, and have that relationship with the factory, with Murrplastik, to make sure this stuff is available, instead of that oh crap situation. I did forget about it at the end, and now I can't get it.
Yeah. Yeah, we try to be good about it, and like our team and your team constantly talks about, okay, what products, like need to be stocked by you guys, by us, in order to, like serve those customers.
Absolutely. Well, I think we'll wrap it up there. I really appreciate again you spend the time with me, Senta, and I'm sure we'll be seeing you around Barnum quite often talking about some of this stuff, and especially with the new push, not the new push, but the big push right now with a lot of our salesmen to really talk about this stuff. And for anyone else that's listening, watching, in the descriptions of the podcast, there'll be links to the Chain Builder, Murrplastik's website, and Barnum's website. So go in there and check everything out. Have questions, definitely reach out to your Barnum sales representation or Murrplastik themselves, and they'll get you, you know, in contact with most likely someone from Barnum if necessary, or if there's a distributor that that is not in the Barnum territory, you'll get a handle with them. And we'll catch you next time on the next episode of Automation Nation. Senta, thank you again.
Thank you so much, Cody. I had a ton of fun.
Have a great rest of your week.
You too.